Okay, for the early out tomorrow, you're going to take a kind of short test, and here's what's on it. You can use open notes. Now, if you already know what you're doing and you consider this to be a complete waste of time, you can skip through this and go to the other packet, but make sure you know what you're doing, okay? Because you're going to want some notes just in case you get stuck tomorrow. So again, if you're like, I already know how to do this and all that, go to the other packet and start working on it on your own, okay? But if you think this is good review, then do it. -5 to the second, I clone -5 out twice, and I multiply -5 times -5, and that's 25. -7 to the third, and I don't need any boxes for this. This is the only factor I have. -7 gets cloned 3 times. And the product is -343. Here, I'll show you. Okay, -343. Again, if you have an odd amount of negatives, the product's negative, but if you have an even amount, it's positive. Okay, clone the fraction. 2/3, 2/3, 2/3, and we times these. Now remember how to do this. You times the 2's and you times the 3's, and your answer is a fraction. So we take 2 times 2 times 2, that would be 8. And then 3 times 3 times 3, that would be 27. So it's 8/27. Okay, 8 to the power of 2, you just clone 8 twice, and 8 times 8 is 64. Okay, pretty easy on that part. Alright, now these can be a little annoying, but you've done them. We've been doing them for a while. There's only 4 of them on the test. First thing, if you have to simplify exponential expression, this is kind of the procedure to take. First, you want to create a dividing line if you don't have one. Then you want to circle your parentheses and the outside power. So anything coming out of here, its power has to be multiplied by 3 before I write it down here. Okay, so above the dividing line, we have the number 4 and the letter X. Okay, I don't need to write X twice, and I don't have anything on bottom. So let's talk about the 4. So the 4 is to the 1 power, but that's in the circle, so that means I need to take 1 times 3 before I write anything down. 1 times 3 is 3, so that's 4 to the 3rd. Now for X, we have 2 of them. Here's my first X. It's to the 2nd power, but it's in the circle, so I got to multiply 2 by 3, and that's 6. And then here's my other X. We're still on top of the line, so that's adding, and we'd add 2. Okay, so 6 plus 2 gives me 8. Okay, so here are my 2 factors, 4 to the 3rd and X to the 8th. Now they're both positive, so they're both going to stay on the same side. So stay and stay. So they both stay on top. Okay, and then the last box is to clone and simplify anything we have. We can clone the 4 to the 3rd, so that would be 4 times 4 times 4, and that gives me a product of 64. So we can replace that with 64 times X to the 8th power. Okay, and that's the answer. All right, now for my next problem, create your dividing line. If you don't have one, you have to create it yourself. Just underline the expression. You have a parentheses with a -2nd power outside, so pretty much everything in here needs to be multiplied by -2. So my factors are a number 4, a letter X, and a letter Y. Okay, so the 4 would be to the 1 power. Now it is in the parentheses, so I need to multiply 1 by -2. Now 1 times -2 is -2. Okay, now the X, that's the only X I have, but it's 2 here has to be multiplied by -2, and that's -4. And then Y is to the 3rd, so we need to take 3 times -2, and that's -6. Okay. So we have these 3 factors, and guess what? This time they're all negatives, so this time they all have to go to the opposite side of the line. So the opposite of top's bottom, move the 4 down, and then the -2 becomes just a 2. Okay, Move the x opposite of top's bottom, so move the x to the bottom, and the negative 4 becomes 4. Y, move the y to the bottom, the negative 6 becomes 6. Now, if the top ends up with nothing there, you need to put a 1. Okay, we don't want the top to end up with nothing there. You automatically put a 1. Okay, so we have 1, and then the only thing I can really clone is the 4 to the second. So 4 times 4 would be 16. So replace that factor with 16, and then times your x to the 4th and your y to the 6th. All right, now you have two separate dividing lines, so in multiplication you can just connect them. Now you also want to circle the parentheses. We have one here with a second power. We also have one here with a third power. Okay, so on top of the line we have a number 8, a number 6, and a letter x. So I write 8 times 6 times x. Now beneath the line we don't really have any numbers. The ones that are there are circled as exponents. And we have an x. Well, I already have x on top. I don't write that down. And then I have y, which I don't have on top, so I need to write letter y just on bottom. Okay, so 8. Now 8 is to the 1, but that's in a circle, so we got to take 1 times 2, and that's 2. So 8 to the power of 2. Now the 6 is to the 1, but that's in the circle as well, so we need to take 1 times 3, and that's 3. 6 is to the power of 3. Now let's talk about the x's. There's 2 of them. Do the top one first, so it's to the third, but we have it in the circle, so 3 times 3 is 9. And then my other x is under the line, so that will be subtraction. And then 3, but that's in the circle, so you don't want to write 9 minus 3. You got to take 3 times 2, and it's 9 minus 6, and that's 3. Okay. All right, now y. Here's the only y I have. It's to the second, so we take 2 times 3 because it's in the circle, and that's 6. So I have 4 factors, an 8 to the second, a 6 to the third, an x to the third, and a y to the sixth. Okay, now they're all positive, so they all stay where they're at. We're not gonna, everything's going to stay in its same place, so they're all stay. So that's on top, it stays on top. 6 to the third's on top, it stays on top. The x to the third is on top, it stays on top. The y to the 6 is on bottom, it stays on bottom. It does not move to the top. It would only move to the top if that was opposite. Okay, so here's all my factors. There's 2 of them I can clone. I can clone 8 out twice, and that's 64. So replace that with 64, same side of the line. 6 to the third we can clone. 6 times 6 times 6 is 216. So times 216. And then the 2 variable factors just remain the same. So times x to the third and y to the sixth. Now we need to do the operation for these two. We have to do the times. Now if they're because they're together on the same side, so I need to take 64 times 216. And that's 13,824. So I cross that out and I put 13,824. So 13,824 times x to the third in the numerator, and the denominator is just y to the sixth. Okay, this is a pretty annoying problem. Your dividing line's there. The only parentheses you have is just around the 4 and the a with the negative 2 outside. Okay. So my factors on top would be a number 4, a letter A, a letter B. My factors on bottom, well, there's no really number factors. There's just a B. Well, I already have B on top, and there's an A, which I already have that on top as well. So I'm not going to start out with any factors on bottom. Now, the reason I had one here is because this was the only Y I had. I did not have that on top yet. Okay, so 4 is to the 1. So we take 1 times negative 2, and that's negative 2. That's it for the 4. Now there are 2 different a variables. Do the top one first. Okay, to the 1, but 1 has to be times by -2, so that's -2. And then my other a is on the bottom, so that'll be a subtraction. And this was not part of the circle. The circle's only here. That is not in the circle, so that -3 is what I put down. But I like to put in parentheses because it's with a subtraction. So -2 subtract -3. Okay, you get 1. Again, the reason why it's 1 is because when you subtract a -3, it's like you're adding 3 to -2. So if I got -2 and add 3, that ends up as 1. Okay, then the B, we have 8. I just write 8 down. It's not in any circle. And then my other B is in on the bottom, so that's minus, and that'd be 3. 8 minus 3 is 5. Okay. Okay, so we have 3 factors. This is negative, so that goes to the opposite side of the line, but these two are positive, so those factors both stay where they're at. Okay, so that's on top. What's the opposite of the top? The bottom, of course, and then the -2 switches to 2. A to the 1, that's on top, and it stays on top. B to the 5th is on top, and it's going to stay on top. Okay, now the only thing we can really simplify is the 4 to the 2nd. 4 times 4, and that's 16. Remember, that belongs on the bottom now. We've already established, when we get from here to here, we already know what's on top, what's on bottom. Don't move anything, okay? A to the 1 times B to the 5th. If it's to the 1, you can also just write the letter A, but that's fine. Okay, scientific notation. First thing, spot your decimal. Going this way, mark your first number that's not 0, okay? This way. No, right there. That's the first number that's not 0. So the decimal goes between the 8 and the 9. So moving it this way is right, moving it this way is left. We're going to have to go to the right, which means a negative exponent's needed. So move that between the 8 and the 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's 7 digits between. So you got your point. You got 8 in front. You got 9 behind. And it's always multiplied by 10. You always use base 10 when you're moving a decimal. And now from here to here, you count all the digits. So after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And it needs to be -7. Okay, if you don't trust your answer, punch it in on your calculator. 8.9 times 10 power, not 0 power, 10 power -7. And indeed, that takes me to the beginning. Okay, now it's very easy to convert a scientist with these kind of calculators. You just take 3.8 multiplied by 10, hit your power button right here to the 7th. Okay, and the decimal ends up right here. If the decimal's at the end, I don't need to see it in the answer. So 38000000. It's 38, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros. But put commas, okay? 38 million is how much that is. Okay, now story problems. You guys did well with those yesterday. I looked at the assignments. It said gas prices were originally $3.29 per gallon. They then decreased by 2%, not $2, 2% per month. What will the new price be after 6 months? Okay, so my units are the dollars and the months. So X is the months, Y is the dollars, okay? So per month, and we want to put dollars. It's always per whatever the X is. Okay, per month I see 2%. Well, that's a percent. It's not $2, so it's not a line. It's not linear, okay? So if it's not linear, it's exponential. So you want to set up your exponential equation. Blank times blank equals blank. And again, we have original, we have our percent, and we have our new. But since the percent is per month, we need an exponent for the months. So let's take care of this factor first. We got 100% You got to remember to do 100. And then it's, oops, sorry, I forgot decrease. Circle decrease. You decrease it by 2% a month, so you're going to minus 2%, and that's 98%. Okay, don't forget to divide that by 100. Okay, sorry, I forgot to circle decrease. Okay, so 98 divided by 100 is 0.98, so that's my percentage factor. And it's per month. Well, how many months are there? There are 6, so it's to the power of 6. It's like you're cloning that percent 6 times. Don't actually clone it, though. We're going to use a calculator. And then 329 is the original price, and the new is X. Again, very easy, just multiply. So 3.28 times 0.98 to the power of 6. And again, if you're talking money, which this is, you need your decimal. In front of it's a 2, and then just put the first 2 numbers behind it, 291. All right, and then the next problem. The number of students enrolled in school was originally 2,500. The enrollment increases by an average rate of 5% per year. Will the new enrollment be 5 years from now? So again, I need to circle increase, sorry, and I'll do that for you on the test. So the units are students and years. So the years is the X times always the X, and the students are Y. Okay, and they kind of tell you in the problem. So per year, then students per year. Okay, now again, the students per year is 5%. Okay. Again, that's not 5 students. 5% is not the same as 5 students. So again, that's not going to be a line. Okay, so don't go over there and construct a line. That's not how this works. Not how the dog hunts here. So blank times blank equals blank. Again, our percents here with an exponent because the percent occurs per year. And you got original and new. So let's take care of our percentage first. So we take 100% and it increases, so plus 5%. That's 105%. So we need to divide it by 100, and that's 1.05. That's your percent factor. But the percent is per year, so the power is how many years I have, which is 5. Okay, and then our original number of students was 2,500, and I need to figure out the new. Okay, so I just multiply. 2,500 times 1.05 to the power. Remember, the power key is the upside down V. The 5th power. Okay, now, this wasn't money. 2,500 wasn't money. It was students, okay? So since it's not money, we don't want the decimal. We just want the numbers before it. So 3,190, and it'd be students. Because you can't have decimal students. You can't cut a student into a part, which is what a decimal is. You can cut money into parts, like a part of $1, but no, you can't put part of a student.